We've both played an hour of Pokemon Pokopia, and we're here to tell you all about it. I am Jordan Midler from VGC, joined by VGC's Andy Robinson. Andy, I see you have a little friend on your mic there.
Don't know what you're talking about, mate.
It's just another mic next to your mic. I discovered that in Japanese, Ditto is Metamon, which I like. That's a nice little name for it.
That's actually probably better. Well, it's not better. Ditto's a cool name.
Yeah.
Metamon.
Because they were very effusive in their love for Metamon. Metamon does star in Pokemon Pokopia, the new life sim from Game Freak and Koei Tecmo. We played what seems to be the opening hour straight from the jump on what I assume was the final game. It's out pretty soon. It's out the first week of March. What were your initial impressions, Andy? Because obviously we went into this with the expectation of, is it an Animal Crossing kind of thing? Is it a Minecraft kind of thing? And I think we both came away from it pretty surprised.
I was very pleasantly surprised. I think the big takeaway from this was just how much they've undersold thus far the scope of this thing.
Yeah,
I think there have been a hell of a lot of Pokemon spin-offs over the years, of varying quality.
Yeah.
So you don't really know what you're going to get with this sort of thing. But clearly they've gone in hard on making this a success. Game Freak are more involved than you'd expect them to be. I mean, there's a de facto like new Pokemon variants and stuff in this game. I think the biggest surprise for me, my biggest takeaway was, I remember that, I was there, day one when the Pokemon Game Boy games came out. The big part of my, kind of early teenage years. And in the years since, I just remember like Nintendo and especially Pokemon Company have just got a habit of not doing the obvious thing that fans want them to do. Like it feels like an eternity that, even during that GameCube era, people were asking for a big 3D open world Pokemon game. Where's the Pokemon MMO? The obvious, big hitters. And it feels like they finally done what they should do, like the obvious thing. Like this game combines, I've got young kids who play Nintendo games and mobile games and stuff. And this game combines everything they love. It's a bit like Animal Crossing. It's a bit like Minecraft. And it's got, the world's most popular media franchise on top of it. I mean, even from an hour, I don't want to overhype this thing. I mean, obviously you're a massive Pokemon fan. I used to be a Pokemon. I'm a passing Pokemon fan, but I haven't played the games for a long time. I don't play a lot of them. I came away really like looking forward to playing more of this game. It really did leave me wanting more. Like it was very clear from this hands-on that the scope of this game is way beyond the 1 hour that we played. And I thought the core loop that they've put together was really like super appealing. Even like for me as an older player, but even more so when my kids, I've already pre-ordered it for the kids. They'll absolutely love this game. I'm convinced it's going to be massive.
Yeah. For people that are perhaps unaware, the loop of this game is essentially you're creating habitats for Pokemon because Ditto finds himself in what is, it was described to me as a post-apocalyptic Kanto, which is the setting from the first game. It starts out, you're in Fuchsia City, the town with the safari zone from the original games, and all the Pokemon are missing, all the trainers are missing, and you are tidying up the world and making habitats that they'd like to come back to. And then that will sometimes unlock abilities, like Bulbasaur teaches you how to drag grass out of the ground, Squirtle teaches you how to shoot water, and because you're a Ditto, you can adapt to all these different abilities, and that's kind of how you get your traversal and building mechanics. And beyond that, as you kind of continue into the demo, you start getting these habitat hints where it will say, oh, this Pokemon really likes a punching bag, and that's how you get Hitmonchan, and that's how you fill out the Pokedex rather than catching or battling like it's a totally non-violent Pokemon game. We got the chance to speak to the game's kind of chief director and concept director, Shigeru Omori from Game Freak. If you're not familiar, he's been the director of more Pokemon games than anyone apart from Junichi Masuda, so as senior as you kind of get coming onto a spin-off, and he wanted to have a game that like focuses on personality, focuses on the Pokemon themselves, and is totally different from a main series Pokemon game. And I think if that's the brief, they've kind of nailed it, especially from what we've played. Like, as soon as the hour was done, I was like, just give me the game now.
I was desperate.
Yeah.
I mean, desperate's a strong word, but it's now shot right up my list of games I'm looking forward to. It really did leave me wanting more. There's just so much going on, right?
Yeah.
Even like, you started off there, like just from a narrative hook point of view, right? So I want to find out what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
This is such a turn for Pokemon. It's like post-apocalyptic Pokemon.
Yeah.
You rock up and you're basically a sad Pokemon that's turned into a likeness of its master who's long gone.
Yeah.
And there's like all these like kind of like wild or orphaned Pokemon strolling around this post-apocalyptic version of the first game. And you pick up like bits of lore as you explore, kind of get to new areas. There's like, kind of like written diaries and stuff that hint on what's happened. So I'm like super keen to find out what the hell that's all about. But there's so many layers to this in this first hour that we played. Like from a Minecraft sort of sense, for example, you the first Pokemon you meet is Squirtle, and you gain the water ability. So then you can water the dry grass and turn it into like healthy grass, right? So then my OCD fires up. So then I have to go and water everything. Like you turn like dead trees into to full live trees. Then when you make a habitat, like you water some long grass, I think, and then it gives you Bulbasaur, right? And then you gain the ability to pull the grass up and make wild grass, like long grass. So then you can make habitats, like, for example, around a rock. If you put like a square of grass, you've created a habitat. I don't know what it would be called, but where specific Pokemon might appear there, like around a rock and grass, or just grass, or grass on a high plane. If you get up to a high area, put some grass there, then a different kind of Pokemon might come there, or grass next to a stream.
Becomes like recipes, like there's very specific
they are.
things.
And I was playing next to Alex Donaldson of VGC podcast fame. And he made this observation. He's absolutely right. It's like it's Viva Pinata for anyone who remembers that, the Rare and Xbox game from 20 years ago, nearly. You're creating these habitats and attracting the Pokemon into your garden. So that in itself is super compelling, right? Building the world back up. It's a builder. It's a complete builder. You can pick up anything from scenery. You can pick up like fences and floor tiles, and then you can go and put them back down. It has a very Animal Crossing UI, very Animal Crossing conversation system. Speaking to Pokemon and hearing Pokemon's personality, like the monster's personality, rather than their trainers, it feels new.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. You're actually talking to like a Scyther, who might tell you to clear off and then ask you to like go and get some wood for him to chop, and then that completely, like lots of little questy type things like that. But then even like a different layer to that, there's like the further I went, you'd find like you find a workbench. You can collect kind of resources like wood and rocks and stuff, and craft these items, and then build. So, for example, if you want to attract the Hitmonchan, you have to craft a hit bag, a punch bag, and then craft a bench and put them together, and you've created that little habitat. Like there was like. There's so much of this that we just didn't see. Yeah. Like as I got further, there was like a trainer gate that wouldn't open.
Like from the original, those bits in the original games that were designed because they could only load in so much of the map. Like you would go through this little hall, and sometimes people would stop you to gate you from. Like all that stuff's in there. It is. I climbed up quite high and looked out into the whole world. It seems like they've done like basically all of Kanto, which is what you would do.
Yeah.
Like it's
humongous.
Crazy the kind of scale of it. And as you say, a lot of the stuff they've focused on is stuff that's been hidden in the Pokedex for a long time, where there's been lots of YouTube videos over the years of here's this weird Pokemon lore that's only in the Pokedex and is never really touched on in the main game itself. And they're using those kind of touch points for the recipes, for lack of a better word, of how to get Pokemon. Like you get Litwick by making an offering at this grave, like with all these candles. You get Gulp in a certain way. It's really it's very not what you'd expect from a game that has direct Game Freak involvement. Like it would be one thing if this was all Koei Tecmo, but they are very much saying this is a full co-development, and Game Freak were heavily involved because they wanted
and
to make something other than the main ones.
It looks like it's the Dragon Quest Builders 2 and what was their last game called?
Wild Hearts
team. So it's the director, it's the art director. So they have pedigree in these types of games. But it's just a super compelling concept, right? Rebuilding post-apocalyptic Kanto in a Minecraft, Animal Crossing, Viva Pinata type setup. And then, the second half of our demo, they elevate it even further beyond that, just when you think, oh, this is cool. And you've got like 3 other players over playing together, solving like problems and building and so there. We played the same demo. So we're rebuilding a Pokemon Center, and to rebuild the Pokemon Center, it will have like a UI item where it'll tell you what it needs to be rebuilt. It will need certain amount of resources, like certain amount of wood, certain amount of stone or etc. And you've got to go out and get that, using your Pokemon skills. But then it will also need certain types of Pokemon to help rebuild it. So I think our one needed a Dragonite and an Eevee, and I can't remember the rest. What's the big fire dog? What's he? Growlithe.
Growlithe, right?
Yeah. See, I know my Gen 1 ones, mate. If we're talking about like beyond Gen 2, I wouldn't know what's going on. So then we have to go and find these Pokemon and find like where create habitats to attract them, or in this demo, some of them are already in the wild because they have homes, right? They then live in those habitats once you've kind of got them in. And there's like the Growlithe. It was like a different island, right? This island was like full late stage Minecraft town. It had giant kind of wind turbines, which were running at more than 2 FPS, by the way, notably, that were powering the electricity in this whole town that had it was a fully built town, where you could go inside the interiors, open the doors, it was a town center square with like a fountain. You could go up like a waterfall, up some steps. It's it looks like a big, Minecraft town that you've seen, advanced players build. And we had to get this, because obviously we had to get the Pokemon back to the Pokemon Center. The Growlithe couldn't swim. I'm sure it was the Growlithe. So then we have to go and mine stone to build, our solution to get him across. We could have done it a number of ways, was to build a land bridge. And we're all sat there working together, building this land bridge to get him over, to rebuild this Pokemon Center. It's, all of this points to a lot of depth in this game. I mean, I heard that some people within Pokemon Company have put 200 hours into this game.
Yep.
And it looks like that sort of thing. It really doesn't. My as a sort of passing Pokemon fan, when I think of these Pokemon spin-offs, right, that have been outsourced, I always think of them as being quite half-baked, whether that's fair or not. And this definitely does not look like that.
Yeah.
This looks to me more exciting than the last mainline Pokemon game.
You get the thing with the spin-offs, and as I was doing my research for a feature which is up now, there is, depending on how you count it, there's about 110 Pokemon spin-offs, not counting the 40 mainline series games that there's been. And it's a sliding scale. You get stuff like XD Gale of Darkness and Colosseum, which were the big kind of very well loved. Things like Pokken, which is an excellent fighting game, but there are stuff that is much less significant. Whereas this feels like it's going to be not only huge in a commercial sense, I think it's going to be their best received game in a long, long time, because the amount of stuff you can do and appeal to a lot of different types of players. I'm not typically a builder in a game like this, but to me, as soon as I started filling up the Pokedex and you build a habitat and it'll have a ring around the habitat and say, okay, here's all the 1-star Pokemon, but there's also 3-star Pokemon, and it's not clear about how you get those, but getting those is the goal for me. It is a totally different mechanic to catching and collecting Pokemon than just going in a circle in a wild zone, for example.
Because I think the Pokemon would have attributes as well, in the main games. So I think some of the Pokemon that we needed to rebuild certain buildings, it wasn't specific Pokemon, it was specific abilities.
It was a class.
They need to have ground smash or something like that, right? And I find it super interesting from your feature as well, that again, how Game Freak are seemingly more involved in this, as a collaboration than they would be with some of the spin-offs in the past. That Amori talks a bit about how this game was very much born from the idea of, like, believe his first game was Ruby Sapphire,
Ruby and
right?
Sapphire, yeah.
2001 or 2002. And he was a map planner, and he would put the grass down on the map and stuff like that where the Pokemon could spawn. And he said he had this he really wanted to, like, kind of rechannel that feeling that he had creating these habitats for Pokemon. I thought that was a really nice story, that this game was directly, the prototype came from his memories of making maps for his first Pokemon games, Gen 3.
As soon as he said that, I was like, oh, of course, that is exactly what you're doing. Like, you are redesigning Kanto, you're putting in where the wild grass would be, you're putting in where a Pokemon would appear from, and as it all comes back to Ruby and Sapphire, because that game had the secret bases, which were tiny little squares in some parts of the map where you could, like, put down beds and chairs and, like, a little bit of customization, whereas this is, like, obviously we didn't test it to its limits because we didn't have the time, but it's hard to imagine there will be too many limitations on what you can do here. It's very notably only a Switch 2 game, so you imagine the kind of the horsepower requirements are taken care of, whereas there might have been, like, less ability to do stuff on the Switch 1. But it's also really exciting for me that everyone I've spoken to that's played this game saw things that were totally different from the other person. Like, you saw Pokemon that I didn't see. I saw Pokemon you didn't see. I was speaking to Joe from Cerebi. He saw Pokemon that I was like, how did you even get to this part? And he was like, oh, I just decided to go this way and nothing was stopping me. And that's the most exciting thing, because if there's one thing you can definitely say about Pokemon games is they've had a tendency to be very on rails, whereas within half an hour of the start of this game, you can just blast through any wall you want to and go and kind of make your own little adventure. There are requests at the Pokemon Center, which are missions which will give you currency to buy items to improve the habitats, but outside of that kind of progression, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. Obviously, there's the Pokemon variations. We only saw Professor Tangrowth as, like, the tutorial character, but there's also 3 others that they've announced. God knows if there's any more, that I'm really keen to see kind of where they go with it. As far as the multiplayer goes, do you think that's the kind of thing that would appeal more to kind of the younger set? Like, I can imagine a lot of kids wanting to just get into the multiplayer portion and mess around for a while, because it's very unrestrictive. It's just, oh, I want to build a little house and I can make this house cold and a nice Pokemon will come over.
Whether that was I mean, there's more to learn, right? We've only played like an hour-ish. I'd be interested to know whether those challenges were, like, multiplayer specific, or whether that's just something that you have anyway. So I don't, and also you'd imagine that hopefully they do have more advanced, like, team challenges and stuff like that, like raid style, but in a sim game type of way. I just hope that it delivers on the scale and scope that it is hinting at, that our into that it really, they are putting out a fully fleshed game and not something that's half baked. Because I think this could be super, super exciting game. It's certainly the most that I've looked forward to a Pokemon game in a long time.
Yeah. Like, as soon as I realized where we were in the world, I was like, we better go to Lavender Town, and there's a big challenge to, like, build the tower again.
I mean, and they weren't telling us about specific places, but you could recognize where you were, couldn't you?
Yeah, immediately. Like, they not only because it has the same map layout as the Let's Go version of Fuchsia City, but as you say, there's little diary entries that point towards this taking place a long time after the events of, like, Red and Green and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the rest of Kanto looks like, because I had no impression before playing this that it would have been that size of game. Like, I was expecting kind of the area that were shown and maybe a little bit more, like an Animal Crossing island sized map, not like a full Pokemon sized map. And obviously we don't know whether or not that is actually the case, but that's certainly what they seem to be implying from what we played. Yeah, I'm keen. Also, interesting decision to include Pokemon from across all generations. You could have probably gotten away with just doing Kanto Pokemon, especially because this serves as an anniversary game, since they're not doing an actual Kanto game this year that a lot of people expected. But it's cool to see. I wonder how large that Pokedex will end up being.
That's another interesting point, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. because obviously they've shown in pre-release footage that there's evolved Pokemon, how that'll work out. It's interesting to see how they're going to translate the kind of the things you expect from a normal Pokemon game into it. But any final thoughts on Pokopia? It's out just less than a month today, and I'm dying for it.
Really?
Yeah, 5th of March.
No, I'm super excited to play more, and I hope they deliver on the promise that we saw in the demo. Because if they do, it could be a big game. I think this should be on people's radar, even if you're a lapsed fan like I am. I love Animal Crossing. I love playing games with my kids. It ticks a lot of boxes for me.
Well, if you'd like to find out more about Pokopia, you can check out my feature. I had the chance to sit down with Game Freak and Koei Tecmo to chat about the game. Very long feature on VGC, and we'll have more about Pokopia as we get closer to release. But until next time, thank you for watching. Check out patreon.com/videogameschronicle to support VGC and get ad-free browsing on the site, as well as extra podcast videos and more. Until next time, say goodbye, Andy.
Goodbye.
And we'll see you in Kanto. Cool.